Merry Christmas, everybody. Do we have to talk about the game? Hello, everybody. It's Ian here once again from OUFC Fan View, and it's time for another review of another Oxford United game. Today, this was one of the fixtures that everybody looked at when the fixtures came out as that marquee tie. We couldn't wait for it, but then it rolled around. Ooh, that did look a little bit daunting. Oxford were away at Leeds. Well, it's been quite the week for Oxford United, hasn't it? We know the form's been shocking over the last couple of months. And probably most shocking of all, Des Buckingham got sacked last Sunday. We've all talked about it. I've done a video on it. Thank you for all those people that commented on the video as well. But we have to move on. We have to move forward. And it is now Oxford United under Gary Rowett. We'll talk a bit more about that at the end. But it was Craig Short taking charge of this game. And before we get into everything, I do just want to give a big shout out to the South Stand View podcast. It's a new podcast set up by a couple of Leeds fans who were very gracious to have me on as their first guest. They let me prattle on for about 40 minutes about all things Oxford United. But the details are on the screen now. If you could go over to their channel and hit the subscribe button, give them a bit of support, it would be very much appreciated. As much as Oxford fans would have looked forward to this game when the fixtures were announced, now that it's rolled around, it kind of came at a time where Oxford could have very much done without this game. It felt like a bit of a hiding to nothing. You could look at it as a free hit, but it felt like a game Oxford needed to kind of get out of the way with damage limitation. Unfortunately, they didn't do that, and eventually Leeds came on very strong and got the goals that their dominant performance pretty much deserved. Congratulations, Leeds fans. You're going strong at the top of the league, and you brushed my beloved Oxford aside. Close your ears, Oxford fans, because it's another chastening scoreline, I am afraid. It finished Leeds United 4, Oxford United 0. And we'll go over all things that happened in the game like we usually do. I'll go over the team news, I'll go over the main talking points of the match, and then I'll go over my final thoughts for both clubs at the end of the video. Like always, if you do just want to jump to the end and see the final thoughts and see my ramblings and musings on the game, then please feel free to do that. The timestamps are down below. But if you do, the very least you can do is hit like on this video, because that helps me out a lot, and I do need all the help I can get, especially as it's coming up to Christmas. That's the least you can do. And I'll tell you what, you could do one better. You can hit that subscribe button as well and help me get to 2,000 subs. I'm very, very close. You could make the difference. So let's have a look at this Oxford United team news then. And Craig Short takes charge of Oxford United once again. Can he muster up a performance and a result like he did against Leyton Orient last season? Unfortunately not. But Shorty does make changes from the side that lost 3-1 to Sheffield Wednesday last weekend. Idris El Massouni, Ruben Rodriguez and Dane Scarlett are removed from the side, and they make way for Will Vauxhall, Shemi Plaheta and Mark Harris. There's no Matty Phillips in the Oxford United squad, but it does mean it's a return to the bench for Will Goodwin. Moving on to Leeds United then, and Daniel Farke's Whites started the day in second place and ended the day in second place, and are so far living up to the expectations of being one of the pre-season favourites to get back into the Premier League. Leeds make two changes from the side that got a disappointing but a last gasp draw against Preston last weekend. Pascal Struick and Willie Nonto make way for Ethan Ampadu and Manor Solomon. Without a doubt, from an Oxford United point of view, this is a formidable Leeds United side who are especially good on their own patch. You've got Dan James, who's been in sparkling form this season, and you've got ex-Oxford United's Joe Rothwell pulling the strings in midfield. Let's move on to the game then. Come on then, you yellows. Let's show a little bit of fight. Well, 1 minute on the clock and Leeds almost took the lead, causing problems already. Leeds get it into the United penalty area after passing the ball around. It already causes a massive scramble as Oxford United are very stretched in the back line. It broke to Tanaka on the edge of the box, and he shot into the side net in just wide. And straight away you're thinking, oh my goodness, this is going to be a long afternoon. Don't worry, Leeds fans. You didn't have to wait too long to make it 1-0. 8 minutes on the clock, and it came as a result of Oxford's pretty much first attack. And it was a good attack from Oxford as well, a promising one. Oxford were actually 2-on-2 with the Leeds defence, with Plaheta running forward at goal. He chose to not pass the ball and try and get Harris in on goal. He went himself. The shot was blocked. and Leeds United broke. And boy, did they break. It was all Manor Solomon who caused all the problems. You'll be hearing that a lot this afternoon, I can assure you. He rode challenges from Kieran Brown, Cameron Brannigan, and just about anybody else who tried to step in his way. He got into the penalty area in acres of space, slid it right across the penalty area for Dan James, who had an absolute tap in. He had the freedom of Ellen Road to tap it in, and already Leeds were 1-0 up. But I know it's clutching at straws, but Oxford did have some chances in this game. And the first one, and probably the biggest one for an Oxford equaliser, came on 12 minutes. And Oxford were looking a relative threat at this point on the break. Will Vaux's doing quite well initially to get the ball to Owen Dale, who got forward, freed Shemi Plaheta, who broke the offside trap just about. The linesman kept his flag down, that's all that mattered. He was through on goal. Plaheta, what can you do? Not much. It was a terrible, terrible effort. High, wide, and not very handsome. Big chance gone begging for Oxford United. And that was pretty much Oxford's only chance until the end of this first half. And you just got into this holding pattern of Leeds being in complete control, really, of the game. Not surprisingly that they were. It was very windy, and the wind was causing problems, that's for sure. And Oxford were struggling with it more than Leeds were struggling with it. And Dan James was looking dangerous every time he's on the ball. Oxford were just about doing okay, though. Aaronson smashing a ball over the bar from distance on 25 minutes. 30 minutes on the clock, though, and Leeds nearly get some joy from a short corner. It's Dan James again, who is in acres of space. He curls an effort. Looks like, it is going in. Jamie Cumming has to make an excellent save to keep the ball out and Oxford scramble the danger clear. But it all came from mistakes, and Oxford guilty of making mistakes in recent weeks, and they were starting to mount up in this one. Cameron Brannigan gave away that corner by just trying to shield the ball out, but he could have just belted it clear, just trying to be too cute. And then he nearly gave away a penalty, trying what a Leeds player got on the ball. It was all very messy, and he just knew Oxford just can't give Leeds anything cheap. But it was becoming more and more attack against defence, and Cumming needed to be there once again to deny Manor Solomon on 35 minutes. Oxford just could not get out of their half, but they were digging in there, they were hanging in there, and they were getting to half-time at just 1-0 down. And they actually nearly went in level. 47 minutes, the last action of the first half, and it ended with Oxford winning a free kick in a dangerous area on their right-hand side. Free kick came to nothing, but it went out for a throw-in, and Will Vaux was able to hurl a long throw into the box. Meslier came, made a bit of a mess of it, and it came to Tyler Goodrum on the edge of the box. Tyler Goodrum, all he could do was stoop low to try to loop a header into the goal. It looked like it might have been going in, but it just looped over the bar. So at half-time, it was 1-0 to Leeds, and the Whites have been dominant and certainly deserve to be in the lead in this game. And from an Oxford point of view, you really feared the worst when they took the lead in the 8th minute. But Oxford relatively stood firm. The shape was decent. They were certainly fighting for their lives to try and keep that scoreline down. Jamie Cumming made some excellent saves. His kicking was a bit ropey, but he certainly was making some good saves to keep Oxford in it. Oxford just don't seem like they can stop James and Bogle down the Leeds right-hand side. There have been a couple of hope spots for the Yellows that we talked about it, and above all else, we're just about in the game at 1-0 down. So who knows? Just about in the game at half-time. Fortunately, I didn't stay that way for very long, and we'll get into everything as Leeds ran away with this game in the second half. But the first chance of the second half was one for Oxford. It was actually a decent chance for Kieran Brown. Another free kick won by Oxford United. Plaheta did well to win the free kick. Goodman's free kick was into the near post, and Kieran Brown made a good run, got a powerful connection on the header, but he got too much on it and it flew over the bar. And that was about it from Oxford United from an attacking force in this game, because Leeds United took control of it on 56 minutes. It was a slick move to open United up. Rothwell switched the play over to the right-hand side, and it was just an incisive, quick passing by James and Aaronson. They cut Oxford open. It presented a chance for Bogle in the penalty area, about 8 yards out, and he slotted it into the bottom corner. It was annoying because at that point the crowd was pretty quiet and Oxford had made an okay start to the second half, but that was pretty much, even at 2-0, it felt game over. And I'm going to rattle through the Leeds goals now. Leeds had plenty of chances in this second half, and they were miles better than Oxford. But I'm feeling sorry for myself, so I'm just going to say Leeds had plenty of chances, but let's actually just talk about the two that they did stick in the back of the net. 66 minutes, and it's another one for the Will Vault's catalogue of errors, unfortunately, as he was key component in Leeds getting this third goal. He had his back to the play, and he hooks a ball over his shoulder just blindly into the middle of the park. And there's nobody there other than Manor Solomon, and he can just get the ball and drive forward. In acres of space, Oxford scrambling to get back, but he can just play it through to Aaronson. Aaronson out of the goals, back in the goals. Slotted it past Cumming, and he made it 3-0. 73 minutes on the clock, and Leeds got their fourth. This time it was Mark Harris giving the ball away, and it was Piru, who actually had a relatively quiet game. Did his probably only thing in the game. He slid the ball through to Solomon, and Solomon deserved a goal. Solomon got a goal as he smashed it past Jamie Cumming to make it 4-0. Mercifully, there were no more goals in this game. We knew it was going to be bad. We knew we were in a bad trot at the moment. And if anything else, we're just kind of glad we got this game out of the way. Leeds United, miles better than Oxford United. Deservedly winners. But let's move on to those final thoughts. I've got a lot to say about Oxford United, but let's start with the home side in Leeds. And look, there's nothing you really would have learned from this game from a Leeds United point of view. This was just that annoying little banana skin of a game that you just had to win and get it out of the way. And you did it, and you did it with style in the end. Maybe a little bit frustrating in the first half that you couldn't create the chances and put the game to bed earlier than you did, but you certainly got there in the end. And just like when Oxford played against Sheffield United, for large parts of this game, it did feel like a bit of an exhibition game for the Whites. You've got people like Manor Solomon, James Rothwell, all having excellent games. When you look at the quality that Leeds can bring off the bench, Oxford are just, those players would walk into, they would be Oxford United's not only first team stars, as they would be their star men that we would never even think about dropping. So it just shows you the difference in the two sides. And this was just a wonderful little warm-up, tune-up game for Leeds for tougher tests that are down the line. Yeah, so I don't really have too much more to say. Leeds fans, let me know your thoughts on this one. Let me know your thoughts on, are you going to get promotion? Can you catch Sheffield United and be champions by the end of the season? Does that matter to you so long as you go up? Do you need to make improvements in January? Are there any tactics that Farke's not doing away from home that he needs to implement? Because your home form is amazing. What can you do to just stop those little blips that you're having on the road? But overall, miles better than Oxford today, as we kind of thought that would be the case. Good luck for the rest of the season. Leave your comments down below. And we will see you later on in the season at Fortress Kassam. Moving on to Oxford United then. What a week. What a week it's been, Oxford fans. It feels like, if anything now, that's a line in the sand that has to be drawn. Everything that's gone before under Buckingham, the Buckingham sacking, this game against Leeds, we just need to kind of park that now, because we're entering into a new era. But we'll just have a few little things we'll talk about this game. First of all, we had chances. We did have chances in this game. A couple of really good chances as well, which could have changed the game if they went our way. Plahetta's was a fantastic chance that he should have at least hit the target with. Goodrum and Brown could have done better with their headers, but a little bit more excusable. But you know, at least something. At least we did pose a little bit of a threat. That's at least more than we did against Sunderland, for example. But that's clutching at straws, because we were well beaten in this game. Jamie Cumming was probably man of the match, and when you lose 4-0 and your goalkeeper's man of the match, it kind of shows you the way the game went. It was a tough afternoon. What did you think of Shemi Plaheta? Because I thought he was okay. I know I've just slagged him off for missing those chances, but I thought for the first time we saw a few little glimpses of him being relatively promising down that right hand side, and I'd like to see a bit more of that. I think he went off injured though, which is bloody annoying. They were saying he had a slight strain when he went off, which is annoying. But look, I'm not saying he was great, but he was just better, probably his best game in an Oxford shirt, but I'm not saying he was great. A lot of you do write these in my comments, and I agree with you. Like, if we're going to just be backs to the wall defending, And this is nothing against Harris or nothing against Scala, but isn't Will Goodwin the best option that we can pick? Wouldn't it be better to have our big man, our target man up front, who we can actually bang balls up to, and he might be able to hold the ball up and get Oxford up the pitch? Because if you're not banging balls into the channels for Harris to chase, what's he really going to do? Because his work rate and his effort was able to turn over possession and create us chances in League One, but it's not really able to do that in the Championship. So what are we really getting out of Mark Harris at the moment, when you could have be more effective if you played Will Goodwin? And certainly in this game's here, well, we're going to have a bit of a hiding to nothing, and we need a way to get up the pitch and stay up the pitch. But I did also think Kyle Edwards looked okay when he came on as well. You do also, if he stays fit, and I know that's a big if, you do have that little beacon of hope that he might be somebody that can have a bit of attacking flair and spark that we've been desperately missing. And there's not really too much more you can say about this game, because this game's going to be quickly forgotten because we've got bigger and more crunch tests around the corner. But it has been a really bad week for Oxford United. Just, you know, the sacking of Buckingham, for many people, did leave a sour taste in the mouth. It's been a bad couple of months results-wise. We've not had a lot to cheer, let's be fair. And I just want to touch on one thing, the one final thing that people said about the Buckingham situation. And I don't know why some fans, if they wanted Buckingham out, I don't know why they seem to get annoyed that fans are upset that Buckingham was sacked. And they just say the whole thing of, like, oh, it's a results business and he wasn't getting the results. Yes, I get that. And that's the cold and callous way of looking at it. But it's also an emotional game where we love our club and we follow our club with a heck of a lot of emotion, and we live for every goal conceded and every game that comes around as if it's the last game we're ever going to watch. And so it's not surprising that when we do have a manager that we have an affinity for, that we do have a kind of an emotional attachment to him, and we get emotional when he gets fired. Let's move on from that, because we've got a new dawn and a new era, and it's under Gary Rowett. And he saw the warts and all of Oxford United today, sat in the stands. He saw some good, he saw a lot of bad, and he saw a lot of things where the trouble with Oxford United is we just look from a Leeds United, against the Leeds United side, quite a few steps below, but against most of the sides in the Championship, a step below the level that is needed. And what can he do to change things around? I'm fascinated to know what tactics he's going to implement in the short term and in the long term to just make Oxford more competitive in games, to give us more of a fighting chance in games, so we're not just dead and buried after the hour mark, that we're actually still be able to pick up some points, because we had that in the early part of the season and it's gone away now. And Gary Rowett needs to bring it back. And we can speculate on what tactics he's going to use, whether it's going to be negative and all that jazz. But we don't know until he does it. But feel free to speculate down below. But also, does Gary Rowett need to bring in his own team? We've still got a lot of the backroom staff that have leaked back to when Carl Robinson was there. Does this need to be, if we're going to get rid of Buckingham, does this need to be a complete clear out of the backroom staff and come in with a completely new team and completely new ideas? I don't know. Maybe it's better to keep some of the continuity of what was there before. I don't know. I'm just speculating on these things. You can leave your comments down below on that one. But it's almost like the season starts here again now. It's almost like this game against Cardiff on Boxing Day is like Norwich on the opening day of the season. Oxford have to attack this game with ferocity and go into it all guns blazing to try and get a result. We need a result. We need a win to breathe some life into the season. I know we're in the relegation zone now. That was pretty much always going to happen at some point. And really, who really thought we were going to get anything away at Leeds? That is not our fight this season. If we pick up a point, it's a welcome bonus. But these next two games are where we need to be 100% at it, fit, firing and ready to go. And Rowett really needs to hit the ground running with these two games. Will he do it? We'll see. We'll be there to cover it. I'll be there to cover it. You'll be there to rant after the game in my comment section. Win or lose, no doubt. But thank you for supporting me on this channel. It's been a real tough slog in the last couple of weeks, but we do persevere and we do carry on. And once again, I'll just say, I will do a predictions video before Christmas, but if you don't catch that one, Merry Christmas to all you guys and gals. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. I really appreciate it. I'm very, very close to 2,000 subs, so if you can tip me over the edge before New Year, that would be fantastic. But above all else, we love Oxford United. We support Oxford United, and let's carry on following the U's. Win or lose, up the U's. Come on, you yellows. Merry Christmas again. Thanks for watching.